All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Uncommon News, where we cover important topics that are unlikely to appear in the mainstream media. Today, we have an interview with a special guest, Mr. James Roguski. James is an activist and a journalist currently sounding the alarm on proposed amendments that have been submitted to the international health regulations. The proposed amendment will give authority to the director of the World Health Organization to declare states of emergency at his whim anywhere in the world. The World Health Assembly will be voting on this proposed amendments between May 22nd and May 28th. By virtue of our membership in the United Nations and the World Health Organization, the United States has already agreed to submit to the IHR. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an attempt to usurp authority over the United States by an unelected international organization. We cannot allow this to happen. And this is why Mr. Roguski has drafted the People's Treaty. Mr. Roguski, can you please explain to the audience what is the People's Treaty and why was it drafted?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to get this word out. This really is, pick your metaphor. It's a five-alarm fire. It's code red. This is something that is very time sensitive. So after you watch this video, please just share it with everyone imaginable. There has been a lot of talk about a pandemic treaty, and the World Health Organization's view is not about health at all. There's nothing in these amendments about health. And the pandemic treaty is a completely different topic that is meant to be a distraction and a decoy. And a couple of weeks ago, in response to their words about what they want to do to take over the health of the world, I wrote the People's Treaty. You can go to thepeoplestreaty.com and read what it is, just so that I could get people to realize that you have inalienable rights that you are given at birth from your creator, and that you don't have to ask anybody for permission, and no one can ever take these rights away. So the People's Treaty is a response to a decoy, okay? Don't pay any attention to the pandemic treaty. Learn what your rights are as part of the peoplestreaty.com. And I'm here to tell you that all of that is meant to distract you from the action that is happening right now. In January, the United States delegate to Geneva submitted amendments to something that you've likely never heard of, the International Health Regulations. Those amendments, as he said earlier, would enable the Director General, who I refer to as the Dictator General of the World Health Organization, to declare emergencies for the flimsiest of reasons. And what that does is it sets up something that happened in Roman times. Romans, when there was an emergency and they put someone in charge to deal with the problem, referred to that all-powerful person as a dictator. You cannot have dictatorship unless you have states of emergency. And then there's a national emergency and a national health emergency and a state emergency and county and city and all these different things. The mandates and the passports and all of these silly things that we're all trying to push back on find their root at the declaration of a state of emergency. What we all need to push back against is the states of emergency, and that's what these amendments are. Now, all of this information is complicated, but it's simply presented as evidence on my Substack articles that you can get directly to. It's jamesroguski.substack.com. You can get directly there by going to don'toudare.info. And essentially, once this video is posted, spread it around the world, tell everybody you know. And here's where everybody thinks I'm crazy, but man, I have met some of the most wonderful people. My phone number is 310-619-3055. If you're around the world, you can use WhatsApp and Signal and Telegram and get a hold of me. That's, I believe, how we got connected. I've met the most wonderful people who hear this information. They recognize what it is, and they want to take action.
Absolutely. And Mr. Roguski, how would you propose that we could initiate the declaration of the People's Treaty?
I've actually thrown that into, your organization. I'm not here to collect money from anybody, to raise money or anything like that. What we need are patriot groups, freedom-loving groups, people who are just against tyranny and dictatorship. If you declare, your rights and your freedoms, this is just a guideline. And so I'm hoping to work together with you and your organization to inform people about what they have forgotten their birthright is. And I encourage organizations such as yourself to publish this as a declaration. It's not a petition that we have to beg for. These are rights that we have as right of, as right of being on the planet. And so I encourage every organization to post, their beliefs, and anyone who would want to be a signatory to that People's Treaty. This is a treaty that you signed with your God when you decided to come down to the planet. All right. This doesn't need to be approved. You already approved it when you walked, when you were born and you came to Earth. And so understand that this is at such a higher level. It's not something that needs to go through the Senate or needs anybody's approval. You just need to claim it. It's your birthright. And
Absolutely.
so that's what the People's Treaty is really all about. You've already agreed to it, and you're here on Earth, and these are your rights. You just need to learn what they tried to not teach you in school.
Absolutely. Where can people find a copy of the People's Treaty so that if they want to draft up a declaration and gather signatories, they can do that? Where can they find your draft copy of that?
There's a number of domain names, not to confuse people, okay? But thepeoplestreaty.com will get you right to the text. And keep reading, because there's a lot of information below there that goes far beyond it. We try to keep it simple. If you go to thepeoplestreaty.org, it'll take you to a activist toolbox where there's a whole list of things that you can do to help spread the word. If you go to stopthewho.com, that should be self-explanatory. And if you really want to know what's going on with these amendments, where they're trying to essentially coerce and confuse 194 member nations of the WHO to just give away their national sovereignty, go to don'toudare.info. And none of these, they don't have an apostrophe or anything like that. Don'toudare.info will tell you all about these amendments, which are 2.5 weeks away from the start of the event. And I just found out yesterday, I'm very pleased, there's a worldwide organization, worldwide, I think it's worldwide demonstration. There's going to be demonstrations worldwide on May 21st and 22nd. So get tapped into that. And if there isn't one scheduled for your town, start it up and take action in whatever way you can. But it's a clear and present danger. And I think that simply because it's been exposed and people have a chance to learn about it before it happens, they were hoping that no one would notice. 6 months would go by, they would implement this, and the deadline for the implementation would be November, end of November. Merry Christmas, one world government. I actually believe that I recognized a document that's in the public. I'm not a hacker. I'm not, Snowden or Assange or anybody who's publishing things that are secret. This is public information on government websites. It's evidence of treason. And I'm just raising the alarm for people to go read it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. You can read what they're planning to do, and caught them before they tried to put their hand in the cookie jar. They're planning on having every nation bring their cookie jar and hand it over during the World Health Assembly. And I think all of the delegates should just leave their freedoms in their cookie jar that they have for their nation and keep that under lock and key when they go to the assembly in Geneva, and just vote no on these amendments, because there's not a redeeming word in any of these amendments. It's just absolute pure attempt to start a one world dictatorship.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very pressing issue. You can help to bring awareness to this by sharing the video and the hashtags all across your social media platforms. Mr. Roguski, I want to thank you for joining us today. Please tell everybody once again where they can find more information regarding these topics.
James Roguski, either way is fine. Roguski. So jamesroguski.substack.com. The treaty is at thepeoplestreaty.com. And realize you already have all those rights. Nobody needs to approve this treaty. You signed on to it when you were born or before you were born. And thepeoplestreaty.org will get you an activist toolkit of what you can do. And don'toudare.info will bring you right to the heart of the evidence of what could be treasonous activity done by nations around the world, where delegates to the World Health Organization's assembly would just be handing over our sovereignty. And so there's plenty that we can do to raise awareness about this. If you're watching this video, please don't keep it a secret. Share it with everybody you know, share it with everybody you don't know, every media, every government. This is just simply, if we're aware that somebody's trying to take away something that is ours, and we say, look, we see what you're doing, you're not going to get away with it. That's the first step, because I'm going to guess that most people watching this is news, and you're not going to see this on the news. Okay. So
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share this with your viewers.
Mr. Roguski, thanks again for joining us. To my regular audience, please stand by for a call to action. To everybody else, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, don't forget, help out your neighbors.